Greetings, fellow productivity seekers. I'm Garland, Coulson, Captain Time, and welcome to Time Tips. Today, we're going to start off our interview series where we interview successful entrepreneurs and ask them to share all their time secrets with us. And today, we have Tracey Thomson from Master Your Mindset with me. Welcome, Tracey.
Welcome. Thank you. I love it. I'm glad to be here, Garland. Thank you.
Great, Tracey. So let's start off by give us a brief rundown on what you do so we kind of know what your productivity is all towards.
It's all towards my coaching. I coach midlife men primarily, sometimes with or without a partner, because it's important for them to have a partner and the buy-in and have the team aspect of it. But I coach them through midlife challenges, as I like to call them, not crises, not anything else. Midlife is a crossroads, not a crisis. So I help them with clarity and connection and confidence as they face those challenges that invariably come up at midlife, in hopes of them looking forward to the future for retiring. And I've also changed that word to refiring rather than retiring, because nobody likes the idea of being tired all over again.
Great. And first off, I love the niche that you've chosen because too many people are trying to do everything too broadly. So choosing that niche really helps you find the right people. And I love the framing you're doing around the wording because it's so much, it's so important how we frame things, how it connects with people mentally and emotionally and everything else. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, was there ever a time aha moment for you, a specific moment or turning point in your journey where you suddenly realized that time management was going to be critical for your success?
Yes. 100%. It was when my husband retired, and the constant interruptions, because I did not live by a schedule. It caused a lot of grief, which is also ironically how I ended up merging the two and coaching in the group and the niche that you just mentioned for the midlife. Of course, it's at 60, I guess it's about 61, because now he's 66 and he's been retired about 4 years. So we went through a really rough patch there where time was an issue. He'd come in, I'm in my office here right now, and my door is right over here, and he'd come and stand in the doorway. I'm like, okay, can you see I'm trying to work? And those constant interruptions, even though they weren't intended that way, it was just, stopping by to say hi, or do you want a coffee? Or, it was never intended as an interruption usually, but it did disrupt my flow, because invariably it would always happen when I was just getting into something really good. Always.
My wife and I both work from home, and we've had to learn not to continually interrupt each other because every time you're interrupted, you lose lose that thought, your focus, and it can take 20, 30 minutes to get back to it. So yeah, I understand. So now we've learned to wait till somebody comes up for coffee or tea, or wait till lunch and ask all the questions at that point, or
Yeah.
send
And
it
save
by
them.
email or something. Yeah.
Save them. And actually, Jim, like, his office is just kind of around the corner here. And if we really need our time to ourselves, we protect it and close the door. And of course, confidentiality is an issue when I'm doing coaching, so the door is automatically closed for that. So he knows to not interrupt for that. But if the door is open, it's always a knock.
Right.
And he actually has a bell on the wall, like it's like a ship's bell that I'll ring for if I want to interrupt him. So yeah.
So as your business has grown and taken more time, like how's your relationship with time evolved?
I've learned how important it is. I've actually learned the importance of quality over quantity, and quality over hurrying, and quality over busy work. Because if it's just busy work, or if it's just hurrying through something, it's inevitably going to come back and bite you in the butt anyways later on. And it's just not worth hurrying. That's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed, because I was raised with, you do everything fast
Yeah.
and get it done. and patience was not a virtue in our household from my dad. So I was always hurrying through things. And of course, that just makes for rework later on.
And
So
my next question was going to be, what's the biggest time management myth you believed early in your career? But it sounds like that might be it, that hurrying was the way to be productive. So
it is actually, that is the biggest myth that I was taught. And it's interesting because the relationship between my parents, my mom always did everything too slow for my dad. So he was always pushing to have everything done fast and fast. And otherwise he would be mad and he'd be, pushing everybody. And so that was kind of what I adopted as my process so that he wasn't upset with me. And it's like, oh man, it just doesn't work, because when you're hurrying through things, that's when you miss things. That's when you're going to have rework later on. Especially if it's paperwork, and attention to detail is important. And even physical work, right? It's like, okay, oh man, I missed that. And yeah, I've actually learned that slowing down will truly speed you up.
yeah, and I found that as well. Like if I have to get my computer really quickly for something, I might type my password 3 times
Yep.
because it's too fast. And it took me longer to get in there than if I had just calmly sat down and typed it the first time and got in. Yeah. So
Exactly. Yeah.
tell me about planning. Do you plan your weeks out at all?
I'm getting better, Garland. That's a growing edge for me. I am getting better at it. I still rely on old school daytimer because I really enjoy the process of writing things down. So I do stick to lists still, and I prioritize that way. But I have recently, you'll be happy to hear this, I have recently started using a booking tool for my appointments too. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm happy doing that, and they're kind of both running in parallel right now, because in my mind I was like, oh, I'm still gonna miss something. And there's that attention to detail aspect. It's like, I really don't want to let anybody down who's booked with me, because time is valuable, right? So I am using technology, but I've still got my daytimer right here too. But yeah, I'm getting better at planning that and making sure that, because my Jim and I and my husband, we share a calendar on our phones, so that we always invite each other, whether or not the person is actually taking part in the activity or not. We always invite each other to whatever event it is, so that we can look at our phones at a glance and say, yeah, I can commit or I can't commit to something based on what's in there already.
And that works well. My wife and I both again commit because so that we to a calendar as well, so that we can see what's going on with each other. That helps.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about long-term planning? Do you do any of that?
That's actually a real growing edge for me. I would say that it's ongoing, and it's also not happening at the same time. It's ongoing because I've got a great big massive dream in here that I write out, usually on a daily basis. That's part of my kind of manifesting process. However, I actually haven't sat down and reviewed it, as I got a mosquito in the room. I haven't reviewed it as well as I would like to. So yeah, I'll cop to that. But yeah, long-term planning is probably a little bit on the weaker side for me in that respect. Yeah.
So let's say you have a day that just totally gets derailed. Okay, everything goes off the tracks.
That never happens.
What's your strategy for getting back on track? Oh, if it never happens, okay, great. If it happens, do you have a strategy for getting back on track?
It happened last week. Yeah, it was like perfect storm. It's a case of prioritizing and just making a list again, coming back to a really simple list. And it's okay, what needs done first, what actually has a deadline or is urgent in real terms, not pretend urgency, not urgent because I think it should be, but urgent because it actually has a deadline or an expiry on whatever it is that I'm creating. So in that respect, it's just like, okay, again, pen, paper, write it down, put it in front of you and say, okay, now I can almost assign a number to it. It's okay, that's a number 1, so that needs done right now, above all else, and get that off the list.
So
I know it sounds old school, but why fix something that isn't broken? Because it works.
So you mentioned tools. So what are your top three time-saving tools or apps you couldn't live without?
One that was recommended by you. I really love the CRM tool of Less Annoying. I've actually found that really helpful because you can schedule in those tasks and notes in there, and it comes up in your emails like, oh yeah, I have to check back in with so and so because about this. So I don't have to do the pen to paper thing. So that I love. The new booking tool that I've used is now Calendly, and I like it. So far, so good. I'm actually just learning it. I don't know what all is involved with it, per se. And yeah, lists. I use any lists on my phone. And actually, my husband has started using it for because he's a mechanic and he's ordering parts all the time. So he uses any lists for the parts that he's ordered for. I use it for shopping primarily and making sure that it's like, okay, if I'm spending a whole day in town, it's like, okay, what's on this list? What's on this list? Do I need to stop here? Do I need to do this sort of thing? Um, but he uses it for tracking parts, which is kind of cool
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
does a lot of ordering on Amazon, and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's in Winnipeg now, so
And
yeah.
it's neat to apply these tools to whatever you need them to do, whatever uh, your needs are. So
I was actually unaware of him using that until probably 2 days ago, and I asked him a question about something that he had on the go, and he's like, oh, it's on my any list. Okay.
great. So you mentioned phones and having lists in your phones and things like that. So how do you prevent technology like your smartphone from becoming a distraction rather than a productivity helper?
Do not disturb on that setting is my friend.
Uh,
However, I have to remember to always turn it and my ringer back on after an event. So I've set it for like an hour or set it for until the end of this event. That is usually, and to actually set a timer so that I'm not disappearing down some rabbit hole when I am using my phone or choose to intentionally go on to one of the social media platforms. That's probably because that's one of the things that is still a bit of a challenge for me, getting sucked down that rabbit hole. And yeah, so setting a timer that rings and it's like, okay, if you're done scoping out whatever it is that you're checking out right now or not, you're done. Done is done.
excellent.
Yeah.
Do you do everything yourself or do you delegate? Like, do you have a team, virtual assistants you work with, or is it just you?
I do mostly all of it by myself. Website design recently been done by a virtual assistant. And that was actually a really good lesson for me in learning to take that step back and letting someone else take control, because that is also a time suck. If you figure that you've got to micromanage every little detail
Right.
about something, and why not just let somebody else do what they do really well so that you can do what you do well in another aspect or area of life, right? But yeah, that was and I will do that again in a heartbeat because it was a very good experience for me.
Great. So
Mm-hmm.
I know we're both members of the same networking group, so we sometimes have meetings to talk about as team leaders on that. But as a coach, you also have a lot of meetings as well. So how do you keep those coaching meetings on track, productive, time efficient?
I have a template that I follow for my coaching plan, and it usually flows fairly well and it goes according to plan for that. And because, as you know, it's a script that I've written myself for my own coaching program. I know it well, and it's a lot easier to stick to my own words and my own thoughts and a process that I've devised myself rather than trying to adopt someone else's, right? Um, it usually just flows organically quite well. That's having said that, though, there are coaching calls and conversations where they will run over, or we get so deep into one area that we're not able to get to all the other areas that they want to discuss, and then that just has to be put off for their next call.
Yeah, and when you're helping people coaching with the kind of coaching you're doing, it's not like you can keep it on a perfect track because you've got to explore those feelings and things that people are diving into. Unlike,
And
say, a business meeting where you really need
yes,
to bring everybody on track and
yes, yes. And I really, that's been a real lesson in the hurrying thing,
yeah.
because you can't hurry through emotional aspects of a coaching conversation, nor can you do that when you're talking about mindset, because you don't want to rush it. You want it to be lasting and transformational. You don't want to rush that.
So as a busy entrepreneur out there in the world, networking, doing all the things you're doing, you're likely getting many requests for your time. So how do you decide when to say no to an opportunity or a commitment?
Um, can I think about it?
Sure, you can absolutely.
That's my standard response. Can I take the
Nice.
time to think about it? Because my gut instinct is, because I'm a coach and want to save the world, I want to rush in and just say yes to everything. And that has bit me more than once. And you come back around and think, why did I say yes to that after the fact? So I've learned to say, let me think on that. Give me, like, can I have until tomorrow, or can I have until whenever, right? And then it becomes either yes, adamantly yes, or now that I've thought about it and given it some time, I've had a chance to actually ask myself some of those questions that I wouldn't have asked had I just jumped in feet first, right?
And that's an excellent way to handle it. You're not saying no right away, but you're taking the time to think about it instead of just jumping in and then realizing it's a lot more than you wanted to take on. So
Which
that's
is really well received, actually,
good.
because I think people appreciate the fact that you're giving it some time, giving it some real thought. Because if you just say yes immediately, like, I don't know about you, but I know for myself, it's just been a runaway on time, energy, and the outcome on the other end of it when I've said yes sometimes. And it's like I really regretted it in a lot of instances. So you learn from that. You learn to say, can I take just a beat on this?
So as an entrepreneur with a busy schedule, how do you also make time for things like learning or personal and professional development?
I block it off on my calendar,
Nice.
just like an appointment. I do the same for my workouts, which I've been neglecting lately, but I need to get back into, and I will be doing that. And I was a fitness coach before, and that was what I always preached, was treat that like any other appointment, as if you were going to a doctor or a dentist. Book it off on your calendar and keep it as almost sacred to you, because if it's your workout and it's important enough to you, or if you're continually learning like we are as coaches, and taking part in other programs, it is that important and it is sacred to me. So I block it off on my calendar, put do not disturb on my phone, close my door for my husband if I need to do that from home, and handle it that way for sure, because it needs to be treated just as if you were going out to an appointment in that case.
So what's your time kryptonite? Something that distracts you or takes up time, something you're still struggling to overcome.
Social media, social
Oh,
media. I'll admit it. If I get on some vein, and I usually am guilty of going in there to look for one specific thing, or find some particular post that I saw randomly before to show someone else. That's always what it is for me. It's like, oh, I saw this. That applies. And then I'm off looking for it, and I can show it to, that it'll be helpful for them. But if I don't find it right away, or if I find something else, then I do tend to do the wandering eye kind of thing and have to be really careful with that. That is definitely my kryptonite in a heartbeat, for sure.
understood. So what's one time management habit that took you years to develop but was well worth the effort?
Delegating, delegating, and letting go of control, I think, in that sense, because feeling like I'm the one that's responsible for having to do it all. And like we talked about earlier, having a VA come in and do website and stuff. Something. It's like, I'm so happy that I let go and released in that sense, because she was able to come in there and do a much better job than I would have done. And it would have taken me 5 times as long to get it to anything that even resembled what she had it at. And because progress is over perfection, and wanting it your way, which is definitely something that I'm guilty of, and very obstinate about sometimes, is like, oh, I gotta let go of this. And then just kind of sitting with it and going, you know what? I kind of like it done this way, because it reflects it. And as long as you've got a good VA that really listens to you when you initially set up what they are going to do for you, and I think that again comes back to me, because I have to be clear and very concise on what it is that I want as an outcome, but delegating for sure. And as much as anything, in the home, and being okay with, oh, okay, well, Jim's cooking hot dogs for supper. Okay. Like, or whatever it's gonna be, right? It's like, I might, yeah, delegating and releasing some of the control.
Great. So if somebody's just starting their business journey, what would you suggest is the first time management system they should implement?
Some form of a CRM.
Mm.
I waited far too long for that, because having a system in place for a CRM, and thank you very much, Garland, for recommending the one that you did that I am now using, wasted a whole lot of time. And I don't, it doesn't even matter if it's an Excel spreadsheet or, pen and paper, but that's very labor intensive, pen and paper, but you need something. Otherwise things are going to fall between the cracks, and that doesn't look good on you. It gives you a headache. It stresses you out. It's so not worth it. I would say time management tool in that sense is probably the most valuable to me anyways, at least right now at this stage. It's gold.
For those of our listeners who aren't familiar with what a CRM is, it stands for Customer Relationship Management System. So it's really a way of managing all the contacts, the prospects that you meet, all the people you might want to do business with, strategic partners. It allows you to take notes, keep in communication, has their contact information, lets you schedule follow-up. So it's really important, definitely, if you're in business at all and having to be marketing that way. So, Tracey, what is your next step? What's your next major passion project, and how will you create time for it?
You know what? I have not decided what my next passion project is, except for the fact that I'm toying with the idea of some different collaborations and workshops. Workshops, however, are a little bit of a stretch in that sense, because men are not necessarily as open to group coaching in that sense as would intend to be on a general basis. I'm not trying to stereotype, but it's something that's kind of in the works, and it's back here in my mind thinking, that would be a good idea. Maybe there might be more room for like a mastermind versus a workshop. Even as I'm talking about it and talking through it, it's like, okay, if it's framed that way and it actually becomes a mastermind, a true mastermind, where you're actually working through, the different challenges that you have, that you bring to the table each week, each month, or whatever it is something like that. That's kind of what's playing back here.
And I agree. I think it comes down to framing and not treating it like a group coaching program. Men are notorious about not wanting what they consider therapy, so to speak, but more something of interest, like a way to help them figure out, what are the next steps? Like, what's your best life going to be after 50 or after 60 or whatever it is. I like
100%, 100%. So that's kind of the idea that's in the works there. And it is a passion project, because we overcame that hurdle when Jim first retired, and now we are sorry, a really rock solid couple, and still face those frictions and those challenges and those obstacles. And I'm thinking, man, if we're that rock solid and still face those problems, what must other people be going through out there? And guess what? I can actually help them because been there, done that, got the t-shirt now.
Excellent. Tracey, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. This was fantastic. If people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
On Instagram, YouTube, all the social channels, Master Your Mindset with Coach T, and T the letter. So yeah. And that's my website, masteryourmindsetwithcoacht.com. So anywhere.
Brilliant. So thanks everybody for listening. Please hit the like and subscribe button. That helps others find our content and helps support independent content creation. And we look forward to talking to you all again. Thanks.
Thanks, Garland.